So in this one, it is that time of the, I don't even know if you say month. That's that time of the celebration of the situation that we are in, where we have to refurbish, recreate, and fix up our top 10 list here, because I do think things have adjusted. I think there are new placements that units will be put on. I think everyone can agree with that. Maybe the placements of them obviously are very disagreeable and or agreeable on. I didn't make a top 10 list and put it on Twitter. I'm trying to actually find it here. When did I put this on Twitter? Hold on, let me move this real quickly. I made this the 15th? What's today? Today's the 18th. Oh, well, okay. I made this a couple days ago. I made one a couple days ago. And, yeah, we're just gonna, well, expand on it. Talk some detail, because clearly, a tweet is not the same thing as detail is going in depth, and that's all we will be doing here. I will say 8 and 9 can be swapped, and I will say number 1 and number 2 can also fall as swappable characters, but how I see things, how I am viewing things, and I will explain how I view them. I do see these units in their order, but if you were to swap them, I would not debate you to the fullest extent. I'd be like, yeah, sure, yeah, it kind of makes sense. So, number 10. Usually this is a tough one, but this is actually an easy one for me now. I will say, and I know people hate this, but I will say, I think it's LF Rose. I think LF Rose has gained tremendous value, not with, CMZ's plat, but with endurance. You have Puddle. He's going to be up here. You have, even more so, the Fours. You have Beast. And you have the new Zamasu. Well, that's it. 4 characters where this Rose has a very good situation. Obviously against the Fours where they go swap over their color, that's a problem, right? But if you can get their early game situation, and even more so with blue cards AoE, and also neutral, but if you get an early game situation, Rose just kind of like beats the fuck out of the Fours. He can 2-card the Fours. He can just do that. Puddle, if you're trying to rush a Puddle, it's not the easiest. I will say it's not easy because type disadvantage, that's a problem, not a high peak. For Rose, obviously his peak is better off earlier game than later game on his overall damage inflicted, but having that full nullify endurance does save him a lot. This new Zamasu obviously being a supportive unit, a beefy unit, an endurance unit, having more sustainability that helps his team out, does help Rose gain value, and even more so, if you're running Rose, you're probably going to run a premise of Rose and Puddle, or Rose and Zamasu, and then whoever that third is, whether it be the new Vegeta Trunks, whether it be just kind of a leader slot unit of Beast Gohan, of the Fours, of, whoever else, you kind of always have a secondary damage dealer there with you. So if Rose can't get the job done his own damage, he gets the job done with his ally kind of getting them down to that lower threshold, and it's like, okay, swap to Rose, rush. Kind of like you would do with the androids when they lost a little bit of their value, but they still had some value because they still had that, like, rush situation to full nullify there. Again, his blue card is very exceptional. I think it's pretty well. This usually happens for LF Zenkais where they gain a value about a week later with the new unit, with the new Zenkai, whatever it, deems to be in that situation. He might even gain more value with Kaioken Zenkai, right? We don't know how good he'll be, we don't know how bad he'll be, but for right now, I do think Rose can fit up here. There's at least one strong green, and there are many endurance units, and Rose can look very well, especially post-main. He has cut 100%. Having cut 100%, while he does have a low, high damage inflicted peak, cut 100% kind of just ignores that to a big extent. I wouldn't say full extent, but like, what's better? If someone had 30% more damage inflicted and then, 30% cut on main, or if they had 90% damage inflicted like Rose does here, and then they have full 100% cut on main. I would feel like that 100% cut is very much more proactive than anything else for him, and I do think Rose can't fit here. If I were to touch on units that could be sidelines to him as like number 10, 11, 12, or it can all be in a realm of swappability, I would say LF Trunks could be 11, I would say the droids could be 12, and I would say they're all in a category of being swappable, but how I feel, I would not swap them at all. Like, I could swap 8 or 9, because I think they can actually debate with one another, right? But with this, I can't swap number 10. I actually think Rose is just concrete number 10. Will he lose value? Of course. He got no damage. He's going to lose value to shit. But this is obviously right now, with the current units that are boosted, with the current units that are out, with the current meta how it is prior to X unit, or prior to Y unit coming out, or getting nerfed, or getting screwed over. Nerfed being screwed over. That's how I'd view this right now, right? Particularly in this situation of this X unit off boost, this X unit on boost, and etc. from there. I feel like I don't have to really say that, but like, I feel like I also do have to say that, because just in case people don't understand that. Number 9, again, 9 and 8, I do value a opinion of swappability here, and I would honestly probably agree with it at some point. I wouldn't fully agree with it because I haven't seen this unit's full potential and my own usage, and I think that gives me more of a negative feeling about this unit, right? So number 9, I would say, is the new 17. I do think, once again, is a very good unit. I just never seen him utilized to a full effect to where he scares me. There's 2 things that scare me about the 17, though. But it's never utilized, like, fully. Like, I'll see it kind of, like, one or the other, but I'll never see both used, like, concrete, amazing, perfect play. I lost because 17 happened, right? 1, his tankiness. He's very bulky. I see that. He heals way too fucking much on that circumstance where he heals back after enemy combo's over, then he heals once again after timer counts. That's a problem, right? That's very spooky. I hate that. It's a problem. But there is strong yellows, so I can, you know, be in a situation where it's not the worst thing. It's, you know, a problem, but, like, you could deal with it, right? Especially with the 4s, just swapping over color. You could deal with it. The thing that should spook me, but it doesn't spook me as much, it's kind of like Blue Beerus when he was meta and very good during the cooler meta, was the capability of snipage. You have 17, who has green card, nullifies endurance after popping green card for X amount of counts. I think it's 5 timer counts, if not 3. But nonetheless, he still does it. I've never had a circumstance, ever, I promise you this, where someone rushed me when they had that, and they rushed my endurance unit and succeeded. Either I got to swap out in time, or this happened, or something happened where they just fumbled that bag, and they couldn't rush my Puddle, my Zamasu, my Beast Gohan. They never got the situation off where they rushed me with that green into a rush from 17. And that, I feel like if that happened more to me, I would say, okay, this guy could be 7, 6, maybe even, you know, higher somehow, right? But that's never happened. I'm worried about his tanking. I'm worried that that circumstance that I just explained can happen, but it hasn't happened. But the reason he'd be up here, though, besides what I just mentioned, would be that bro is on the, I don't want to say GT's the best. GT's not the best, I think. I think GT is debatable best with, like, hybrids, with, I would say more just hybrids, but yeah, it's debatable with hybrids as, like, a 1A, 1B thing, maybe, like, maybe 1 and 2, but, like, maybe 1A, 1B, right? It depends, really, stars, because, like, the 4s need a lot of stars more than the hybrid team does a lot of stars, right? That's just kind of how it is with how these units are going to be aging. They need a lot of stars, these newer units, than Beast Gohan does, especially Beast Gohan 9 being on boost. I think I would say hybrids are just, like, a league above. But nonetheless, as a full team, right? As a full team of Beast Gohan being, you know, sucked off and just kind of being the guy for it. But nonetheless, he's very bulky. He doesn't fully flow in the team, I would say. I think he wants to do more blasts. He kind of is catered to this aspect of it. But he does work well enough. He does up the sub counts. He does have the Dragon Ball destruction. He has good features to him. He has good traits to him. I think he's done well, made properly, made fairly. I think he's a very good unit for the game and very good in general. It's just that I haven't had this, like, oh no factor, spooked out factor, to where I could raise him individually. But if you have, and you've experienced what I just explained, where it actually happened to you, then clearly you would change your opinion on this, right? So if you see him higher because of what happened, then yeah, makes sense. All these are based off individual experiences of PvP anyways. So, got that? Great. We move on. Number 8. I need to take a sip of my tea. Give me a second. Festive tea, festive tea. Pinky up, when in doubt, pinky out. Tell me the reference. Where's that from? Also, comment the word SpongeBob. I just gave you the answer. You've made this part of the video very early on. Number 8. I thought this unit would go a lot more down, as everyone else did, because how Stargated they are. And I think that's very broad to say, because there's a lot of units Stargated, but I think if I say Ultra, everyone knows who I'm talking about. So this Ultra, I do feel, is in the viability of Mr. Number 8, Mr. Ultra Broly. Now again, you could say Broly is lower than 17 because 17 has a better team, but I do think Broly's individuality of his own merit carries him above 17. Again, if I just saw more of those snipe situations happen against me and happen more common, then I would say, okay, 17 above. Once again, I would say these two are swappable, swappable, swappable. I just haven't had enough scary situations from 17 to make me think this 100% of the full time. There you go. Couldn't fucking word that properly. But Broly, Bro is still bulky. Bro is still doing these extended combos. He could still feint. He could still do very good blue card damage when there is all the enemies in the early game setting. Kind of like LF Rose with his damage inflicted is very much better early game than late game. Not much differential, but it does go down, right? With Broly and Rose there on specific situations. Broly is still bulky. Well, he's not much seen. I do understand that. I don't think that... I think that's important. I don't think that means everything, though. I can say, okay, LF4Ku is like top 5, right? I probably would say that. I probably will say that, to be real. But is he as seen as, I don't know, Puddle? No. I would say Puddle's a lot more seen. Was he as seen as, Pan? No. I would say Pan's a lot more seen. And if these units are all in an arguable spot of, like, this top 10 area, I don't think a unit being seen is the overall end-all be-all. Clearly, if you see them more... I had to sneeze. Oh. Bless me. Thank you. What was I saying? I don't think if a unit's seen is the end-all be-all how you discuss a unit's value, right? Clearly, yes, if they're seen more, they're probably better. They're probably better than this X unit, and so on and so forth. But I do think Broly not being seen as often does give a negative to him that's not really fully warranted, because while I have a 14-star Ultra Broly, and you don't have Ultra Broly, you have a 5-star, 8-star, or something lower, you don't see the full effect of him at his peak threshold. And by the way, these are obviously all like me thinking at 14 stars here, because that's kind of how the game is. You have to think at that high star threshold if you're thinking like high up, and that's where we're rating this stuff at, clearly, if it's not obvious enough. I think Broly's goodness is very much hidden behind the rubble because no one summoned in a high depth for him. There was no need to. You had Rubble go on. He was a very suitable option. He still is a solid option to this day. Is he amazing? No. But is he suitable? Yes. Like, does he do the work he wants to do? Yes. Can he do that maybe as frequently? No. But does he still, like, have a capability to be an impactful unit? Yes. So there's no need to summon. And I think that lowers people's opinions of Broly, because they don't see him as often, but I do think this unit is very good. I think his defense are still very good. His offense are still very solid. I think there's not much lacking in him, even now with the boost being gone of him. I expected him to drop to like 15, 20-ish area, kind of like Kaioken would just dip the fuck down after his feature boost that ended. But no, Broly's still tanky. Broly's still well. Is he ideal on like a setup? No. You're just not going to need Broly. But does he work well? And does he do what he wants to do? Yeah, he does do his job still. It's not needed, but he does do that job. If it was needed, he'd be obviously more desirable, higher up. But he still does do his job, in my opinion. And I think he retains a well spot, at least in top 10. Which is good, right? Ultras really aren't up here, so having at least one, it must mean something good, right? I mean... hopefully. It is a whole new rarity. You would think they're all up here, but they're not. They're close, but they're not there. Number 7, I will say it is the man. It took me a minute to like fully agree with this. From now to when this tier list was posted on Twitter, I definitely agree with this more with Puddle being number 7, and yeah, shocking. It is Puddle. I was debating back and forth in my head, like is it Vegeta Trunks, or Trunks Vegeta rather, or is it Puddle? After using Vegeta Trunks a little bit more, Trunks Vegeta. I want to get it right because that's who's first. I always say it first, right? After using Trunks Vegeta more, they are definitely a solid unit. They definitely do their work. I think that kind of says where they are, by the way, just by accident. But they definitely do their work. They definitely are well. And Puddle, the reason I would just teeter him back 2 centimeters is because this yellow is better than this yellow. While Vegeta Trunks, it's gonna go with it. While Vegeta Trunks are not the perfect unit, they are a well-made unit. They are a balanced unit. I've said it multitude. Terrible wording. I have drunk people outside screaming. It is Sunday, rather, when I'm recording this, so it makes sense. I've said a couple times, though, they're a balanced unit in an imbalanced game, so it's just a problem of the nature of the game, but they're still a very solid unit, right? This Trunks Vegeta duo. Puddle, he's just surpassed in an output setting, obviously, because Puddle's not meant for output, while you still do have that hybrid team where he probably is more ideal than the Trunks Vegeta. I mean, if you're going for, like, Beast Gohan being Beast Gohan, doing his Beast Gohan stuff, he definitely is more ideal. That's why he would retain his value in the top 10 setting, but there's not many reds, so he has to still be up here. It's just kind of how that works. He's not getting countered out by anything, and it's just more the nature of, hey, you're a support type, your value can't always be this high thing when this damage dealer on boost on pretty solid teams, you know, the same team you're on, and you can run double yellows right now perfectly fine, exists. So I would say this Puddle dipping down a little bit, more because this yellow is still very good in their own right, and has good value in the meta of PvP, because, well, you see 3 purples, then you also see, hey, if there is a red, get me out of here, I'll go to Vegeta and fuck up that red. So, kind of works out nicely for the duo, and like I said, the duo will be up here. Oh, hello, what was that? Wait, I didn't mean to put you, hold on. Wait, no, that is what I meant to put, yes, okay. 42 messages, wait, 41? 42, sorry, wait, 41. Nonetheless, Trunks, Vegeta, I do think they're number 6. I will say the reasoning for this is, again, they are once again a balanced unit in an imbalanced game. They have low cover null, just point out their flaws, because they have goodness, but they have flaws, right? I feel like pointing out flaws, just get that shit ripped out of the way. They have low counts of cover null, I think it's 2 counts on blast. That's it. You can't even charge step into blast there. No key on entry is pretty iffy if you have low cover null. Like the droids don't get key on entry, okay, but their cover null is very easy. You pop 18's green or you land 17's green. It's pretty simple to get, and you have a lot longer cover null, right? A lot of ultras don't have much key on entry, but you know, Ultra Gogeta has a broken gauge. You have USV who's debuffing to fuck. Obviously now it's not that relevant, but when they first come out, and clearly this is Vegeta and Trunks first coming out, they have positives to dissuade those negatives. Trunks and Vegeta is positive to dissuade the negatives of that low cover null, of that low key on entry, is more their damage right now, how they are looking in the boost system. Obviously, it's not the most cataclysmic thing, it's only 20% damage inflicted, but is something more than nothing that they are getting. They're also going to be run on hybrids, where they're going to be supported. Now, I'm not saying that as a negative to them, but I am just saying, in a setting in the future, hey, will you always be running this support or double support, like amp setup to really like go for this one unit to go crazy? I don't think that's a reasonable idea to just assume will be happening for them 24/7. So while it's happening for them now with like, okay, you ran Pan, Beast, Trunks, Vegeta, I don't think that's a thing that's going to be happening in the future. But nonetheless, right now, they do well damage. They are a good color. I wouldn't say they're perfect. They're a good color for PvP right now. Honestly, would have preferred them being green. And then, obviously, you tag out your advantage to purples, which there's 3 fucking purples. They would stop Beast a little bit. They would, maybe not be ideal to run with the 4s, but, I mean, you don't ideally run them with the 4s anyways, because one's strike, one's blast. But nonetheless, they're an okay color. They do well on their output, they get Vanish back nicely, they lower your key and are a nuisance in some settings with their disruption at that below 50%. They can do nice work, right? They definitely can. It's just, I don't think there's something over the moon. I don't think there's something bad. I just think they exist. They exist well. Top 6 is not a problem. It's just that they exist too balanced in an unbalanced game to where they should have been higher if they had one little quirk fix of key on entry, or if they had more cover null, a more sustainable way of cover null, right? Like, they came out with a unit whose ambition is to fuck over your key on first entry, on second entry, and even further along than that. They came out with a unit alongside that. So they innately are fucked over because the monster exists, because Pan already existed, right? These units that are lowering your key by a metric fuck ton so quickly, and this unit that wants to combo for a long time that can do draw blast on blast on blast on blast on blast. They can draw like 4 to 5 blasts for a combo, right? That's not even like, you know, charge stepping, that's just drawing from the uniques. And yet you drop a unit that's like, hey, you get no key! Like, alright, I guess. It just kind of screws them over to where they can't be higher because, again, they're no key entry, their cover null situation doesn't exist very well. It's unfortunate, they're still well, but it's just unfortunate how they were not given the full shine. It gives me an LF Trunks vibe, where he could have got more shine. He's still good, but he could have got more shine and been better. That's exactly what this Trunks Vegeta duo is to me. Number 5, I will say it is Mr. LF4Ku again, claiming the idea of GT being a number 1/2 team here. Obviously, at least number 2 there. LF4Ku as that second man standing with his ult going 100% through cut pen. Yeah. Oh no, he's getting ult damage up 100% there. I think gets 150 when he's last man standing. And he goes through cut, I believe like 30-50% on ultimate there. Bro goes crazy. The double cover rescues obviously is very valuable. His early game damage isn't the worst thing in the world because you compare it to Vegeta Trunks. I would say Trunks is probably doing more early game, but as he gets ramped up and he retains that ramp up of his damage inflicted, he will be doing well. His build-up of defenses, while it does fade off, that's a problem for sure. It's not the most noticeable thing. You do have a good amount of sustain with him because when an ally's dead, okay, restore health. When he pops main, okay, restore health. So he has good sustainability. He kind of tanks like Maj and Vegeta does in post-transformation when he's getting comboed, and obviously he can't heal it as easily as Maj Vegeta does on that, you know, transformation state, but he does at least have a good bulkiness to him. He is a very scary second to last man standing. If I'm facing this guy, I'm always trying to rush him first. I'd rather rush him than the 4s, than Beast, obviously than Beast, but even if I had Endurance Nullifier, I would rather rush 4Ku than anybody else, because I know his comeback potential is so much of a fright, right? He definitely can be the guy. He definitely is the guy a lot, and he is going to be spooky in a lot of spots, and I've seen it, I've used it, I've experienced it, whatever word you want to say. 4Ku's him. It's kind of wild how good he is in comparison to LF Rose Zenkai, where Rose got help, but like the help Rose got to the help 4Ku got, it's kind of wild. Like, even not even on just team, on just overall, you know, buffs of Zenkai, it's kind of wild what 4Ku got in comparison. And it didn't seem like 4Ku got much, and then we saw Rose got, and it's like, oh. But you also can't factor. One has, you know, a plat equip, and one doesn't. So maybe that is important. Is it as important as maybe it's said? No. Like, would Rose jump 5 spots if he had a plat equip like 4Ku? Maybe like 3, maybe even 4. But would he like get to this top 5 area? I don't feel that. But maybe we will see that in the future, right? I actually have to change this. I have to adjust this here. I do think 3 and 4 are actually the same. I think these units are not interchangeable. Well, yes, interchangeable, right? Yeah, I would say they're interchangeable, so that is how I feel about that there. Gotta delete that row. All right, 3 and 4 I do think are interchangeable, but I would say very confidently, right now at least, that I would keep this order for myself. Again, the only order I would change if someone were to argue something, I would say is 8 to 9, right? But in this, I will keep this order, and I will not change it for myself. But if you were arguing it, I wouldn't be like, oh my god, that's completely wrong, that's completely stupid. Like, I would never do that in general, but like, there'd be no point to. There's no differential. But, as you can see here, 3 and 4. Zamasu being 3, again, that disruption is wild. I don't think really anybody gets around his disruption. Maybe, like, the tag out into disadvantage of Vegeta gets around it at like the second combo, but like the first 2 combos, you're really not doing much on damage to this Zamasu because that key reduction is so strong. That green card can stop rushes. Bro has like a lot of health restore as well. Can do okay damage because he's on boost, obviously. Like, Zamasu's, honestly, he's a better Pan. Like, if Zamasu went neutral, he would be very close to number 2. I wouldn't say he's number 2, but like he would not be tied with Pan as he is here. The reason Pan is tied is because hybrids exist, and that the fact she goes neutral. If Pan did go neutral, oh bro, this would not be a close comparison. But Pan goes neutral. It's a very long neutral, 60 counts. It's something you really can't avoid. It's always going to happen. Zamasu's just individuality, though. It's so much above everything Pan does. Like, bro, debuffing ultimate and blue cards, power. Like, bro, you can't get around that. Every unit. You think Beast Go on does 97 blue cards a match? Okay, debuff power 40%. 4Ku's ultimate, that's usually meant to like one-shot anybody neutral at like second man standing. Zamasu will live that ultimate because of that debuff power. It's insanity, that debuff power. It's really that. You know, his green card, yes, all the other stuff, great. It's really that, though. That debuff power, that's kind of just like a slap-on thing they probably added, and it's like, but that's the best part of his kit. Like, he is him because of that. He is way too good. But Pan, you know the story of Pan, she obviously has good value because hybrids, good support. She's a Vados and Puddle mix as a unit just combined with the more support as more, you know, swap in, swap out, swap in, swap out. And then when she gets hit per new combo, more support for her and her allies. And she actually can do okay damage as well. Definitely a very good aging unit for now. And Zamasu seems like he would be in the same boat because, well, he's above her at this point, right? Number 2, again, I will say number 2 and number 1 can be swapped. I would not be opposed to it, but how I feel is that number 1 and number 2 are correct in my mind. Number 2, I will say, is Mr. Beast Gohan. Now, before the pitchforks get thrown at me, as they probably already are, but that's okay. Let me take a sip here very quickly. So why I say Beast Gohan is number 2. I do think it is a team issue. I think Beast Gohan individually is better than the number 1 unit. I'm honestly just going to put the number 1 unit at this point. You guys know who it is, right? The 4s. So I think Beast Gohan is better individually than the 4s, right? Not going to downplay that. I think he is. What I don't like with Beast Gohan is the fact that his setup is the reliance of allies getting your ass beat. If you're winning with Beast Gohan, and this sounds moronic, but it's true, you'll see it in your damage outputs if you're running Beast Pan Puddle, which is the team that's obviously very good for him, you're not going to be doing as much as you would if you're getting your ass beat. Because what the premise is you get your ass beat, support, 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 support. And I've never liked that idea of a 1v3 team. And I think with how strong Forku's team is, well, the 4s here, with Forku and 17, or whoever else you want to have as a third, even throw Beast on the team, right? I feel like the strength of the 4s, Forku, 17, whoever that third is, it doesn't really matter the third to be real, but like 4s and Forku specifically, is outweighing the strength of Pan and Puddle, in my, at least, eyes. And if you want to, like, full team do this, well, Forku outweighs the goodness of Puddle, right? I think that's very clear. I think that's very obvious, right? 17, does he outweigh the goodness of Pan? Maybe not fully, but can he? Again, if I saw more of those niche circumstances of, hey, dude, he just rushed you out. He full nullified your endurance. What are you going to do, Beast? You just rushed out Beast. You got good sub count up. You popped that main ability. Boom, 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 boom. What'd you do? What'd you do? You couldn't do anything. That exists. That situation exists. That doesn't exist with Pan and Puddle. There's no sniping out from Pan and Puddle. Obviously, Beast, again, individually is better, but I feel like the cohesiveness of GT with the cover rescues, with the fucking sub count up, with the 4's blue card to get a lot of vanishes back, and just keep vanishing over and over and over and doing more combos and new combos into another vanish because you could combo with Vegeta for so long because no one can really reduce your ki that low because Vegeta's card cost is very low. I feel like you'll have just a lot of vanishes. You'll have a big ultimate that could just nuke the fucking entire enemy team at that point. And then you also have 17 with the, lock situation, the Dragon Ball manipulation. There's just a lot more happening on GT. That's a lot, what's the word? It's not safer, but it makes you safer in the match. Cover rescues make you safer. Dragon Ball destruction makes you safer. Sub count up to the enemy makes you safer. More vanishes makes you safer. What is happening on the hybrid setup? You're amping Beast. You're getting support. That's safe because you're beating their ass. But what if you get caught with Beast? Is there a winnable situation of, okay, Beast, he got caught early, he got rushed by 17, he had a green card pop, shucks. There's no winnable situation there. If you lose 17, is it winnable? Yeah, easily. If you lose Forku, is it winnable? Yeah, pretty simply. If you lose 4s, is it winnable? Yeah, you still have Forku. I feel like there's just more safety net with the GT and more potential for a comeback than it is with Beast. I feel like the loss of Beast is too strong to have him be number 1 with his team than it is with the loss of, okay, the 4s are lost. Alright, that's a problem, but that's not the worst. Okay, 17's lost. Okay, that's like the worst. That's like the easiest problem to deal with. Okay, Forku's lost. Okay, that sucks, but like, is it the worst thing in the world? No. Obviously, once again, I am stating that I think Beast is better individually, but I do think the team of the 4s is outweighing and outshining in a lot of departments of utility in comparison to the team of Beast, where it's just buff me, damage, buff me, damage, buff me, damage. Because you have these endurance nulls, you have these situations where you can just kind of snipe out, and if you kind of plan around that, it's really not that hard to get Beast out of the way. People play with Beast very recklessly, and I just think that's something that should be factored. So that's why I would say the 4s are above, more for the team synergisticness that they do have, and how they work, and how they control the field, control the match a lot more in a tempo in your favor, rather than just while support and more support is very good, it's not really controlling any tempo. You know, my rush is going to happen quicker than your rush because I'm destroying your Dragon Balls. My situation of Nullify, Endurance, Snipe can happen a lot easier than your situation because, you know, I have that kind of on-demand situation. My cover rescues can happen because yours don't even exist. My Vanish Backs can happen a lot more sustainable in a way with the 4s because I always get a blue card, right? You're more relying on a unsafe manner with Beast. And while that works with him, because how good he is, I don't think that makes him better as a full value because of how lacking his units alongside him are to do anything without him. I think the 4s without their allies are solid enough. I think 4-2 without his allies are solid enough. I think 17 without his allies, he's okay. You see how I would say Puddle is like, without allies, like, Pan, well, I guess he's okay, but like, Beast, he's God. He's God. But the other two, what does mean to good? I don't feel like it's I don't feel like it's comparable. I think the allies of the hybrid setup with Mr. Beast Gohan are good, but they are not as good as the allies and the utility that the others can offer for the GT setup. That's how I feel about it. But this is my top 10 list. I will restate it here. The 4s, number 1, Beast Gohan. Number 2 Zamasu. Number 3, Pan. Number 4 can be interchanged. I wouldn't argue it. I wouldn't change it, but I could see you changing them if you felt that way. 4-Ku, number 5. Trunks Vegeta, number 6. Puddle, number 7. Broly, number 8. 17, number 9. And Rose, number 10. 12, 11, 11, 12 would be LF Trunks is number 11. Joy's number 12. If you want to go even one deeper, it'd probably be one of the Ultras. Would it? Could it be USV? Could it be USG? Could it be USG? Maybe it could be USG as like 13. Maybe. I guess. Yeah, I would say USG. USG is just so good individually. Like, I used in that video, he did very well. Like, he was doing very well. Obviously, Beast outshines him, and that's a problem, but, you know, they both have neutral pretty simply to get. I mean, honestly, just sack somebody off, then boom, you get neutral on both your fucking characters pretty easily at that point. But let me know what you guys think of my top 10 list of December, and I will see you guys in, well, actually, might be an updated top 10 list, depending when the Ultra drops, of December. Mid-December, I'll see you guys in the next one.